My name is Damali Ssali and I welcome you to this episode of the Ideation Corner. The Ideation Corner is a space where ideas are discussed and dissected. And today I'm very happy to host CK Japheth. CK is currently building the Innovation Village. The Innovation Village is the launchpad of Uganda's leading entrepreneurs and innovators who are creating solutions for current challenges through the smart application of technology. CK works with these entrepreneurs who are mission-oriented to capture value by creating products, services, experiences, and businesses through digital technology. The Innovation Village today has expanded into a community of 110 startups with over 2,000 innovators. And wait for it, over 40% of these innovators are young women. That is about 800 people, innovators who are women who are in the Innovation Village. They create solutions for urgent problems for over 10 sectors. The Innovation Village, with support from private partners and public partners, is now on an expansion drive. It wants to have a physical presence in over 9 locations in the regions in the country. The Innovation Village's aim is to ensure that Uganda becomes the best destination for entrepreneurs in the region and thereby creating about 300,000 jobs. Today I have CK on the Ideation Corner. I am very happy to be hosted by him at the village. CK.
Well, thank you for having me. I must admit you've done that better than me. I've never had someone speak about the village like that, and I was struggling to see, is that the organization I work with? I'm very happy to be here.
Thank you for that. I follow you on Twitter, and yesterday I saw you were launching the Africa Works initiative with MasterCard Foundation. Please give me what is that about?
I think it's one of the most brilliant partnerships that has happened to us since we got onto this journey of making Uganda the best place to be an entrepreneur. So MasterCard Foundation, after 10 years of operation, took a step back and said, let's come up with a new strategy. And they love Africa. And so in the new strategy, where else to focus than young people? Youngest continent, growing to become the youngest workforce. We need to create jobs for them. So they came up with a Young Africa Works strategy to create 30 million jobs in Africa. But for Uganda specifically, to create 3 million jobs in Uganda for young people, specifically young women. So 70% of that.
I'm very happy to hear that.
I'm always reminded this is a female-inspired program.
Excellent.
So 70% of that population is young women, and we are fortunate to be part of the partners for Uganda who are working with them to achieve these aspirations. Others include Private Sector Foundation, who's the anchor partner. But Thursday was the launch for Uganda. It should have happened earlier, but of course COVID happened, and now the hard work begins.
So what exactly will that initiative be doing? How are you going to get these 70% women?
Our core contribution is through entrepreneurship, technology, innovation, which is already a natural for most Ugandan young people. But where we connected with the MasterCard Foundation is in why is it not happening as fast as it should. And part of that is, the ecosystem that our entrepreneurs exist or live in is, just beginning to emerge. So what an entrepreneur needs to be able to succeed is not in place. Where does an entrepreneur get the capital, the risk capital at early stage to look at an idea? Where do they get the access to market opportunities? You have a brilliant idea, where do you take it? Partners who can help them scale. Business development. There's a difference between having a good idea and having a good business idea. But also mentors, So that's our core contribution to the strategy of making entrepreneurship, succeed. So how we're going to do that is through first establishing, innovation hubs across the country. Entrepreneurs are not just in Kampala.
Yeah.
We have entrepreneurs in Gulu, in Jinja, in Barara. And I'm happy as we speak that has been achieved. We've also gone on to establish a creative destination makerspace for young creatives in food, in fashion, in wood, in metal, in film, media, entertainment, because that's actually closer to the population that we have. So build communities that entrepreneurs call home, and when they go, then we can help them access capital. So we built the 97 Fund that again was seeded by the MasterCard Foundation. So we'll actually be able to invest in ideas that are contributing to opportunities for young people.
So you're looking at developing an ecosystem or supporting the development of an ecosystem.
Yes.
At the same time, you have fund capital where you can capitalize these entrepreneurs.
Yes.
This is going to take how long?
So the initial relationship is 5 years, but really we come into this conversation as entrepreneurs. The foundation has already given us, and I keep telling them that you've given us everything we need to succeed. And yes, it's 5 years initially, but really the model is sustainable. By year 3, we should be able to do this, and convening and catalyzing the entire ecosystem, attracting investors, attracting private capital, attracting external capital, helping also government play in the sector in a more sustainable way. So it's 5 years, but our eyes are focused on the next 3 years to make it sustainable.
Okay, we were speaking earlier before we came on camera, and you were talking about a proper hub. On the entire African continent, we don't have the full concept of a hub.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, I think I keep saying that the Innovation Village is not a hub, and confuses most people. But
including me.
Yeah, I do not know a single innovation hub that's sustainable across Africa. There's a guy, a good friend of mine, Bosun, in Nigeria. He's doing awesome stuff and he's nailed it. But I do not know any other. And that's because our ecosystem, environment where we exist as entrepreneurs, is literally just beginning to emerge. It's asking a 5-year-old young child to take care of the 3-year-old sibling, just beginning to emerge. And what that ecosystem is made of is, do we have early stage capital to take a risk on this young entrepreneur? And if you don't get invested in at the earlier stage, you will never get invested in at the later stage. That's why if you look, most of the entrepreneurs who are celebrating 5 years back are either in a super job, calling themselves innovation manager, or have moved on to the next startup because they failed to get invested in
their first one,
in their earlier stage. So you don't have the early stage capital, and most of the entrepreneurs are first-time entrepreneurs. Come up with an idea, you
try it out.
You have a self-exaggerated opinion about what you're building. You think you're God's gift to Uganda. The next
the
Bill
best
Gates.
idea ever.
Yes, and doesn't work that way. Where do they get the mentorship to be able to understand? This is the path to building a business from your idea. They walk in the dark, and you can't even have a conversation with them about what they need to do right, because that's like telling a mother that your son or daughter is ugly. So then access to market, access to market opportunities are still a problem. We could do better with appropriate government policy to catalyze entrepreneurship. So hubs exist in an environment where that is really set up, and that's how they're able to accelerate the work that they do. So if you try to build a hub in the absence of that,
the rest.
You're wishing against hope that someone is going to come and say, don't worry, I'll do the rest for you. So a lot of the work we've been doing over the last 3 years is building that ecosystem, that environment, making sure investment, you have the 97 Fund. Connection to market, you have active pathways to the private sector. So by first basis, any industry leader who might
be interested in the ideas.
You don't need an introduction. It's very important. Mentorship for entrepreneurs, and mentorship for entrepreneurs is something that's overlooked. We think that because I am a CFO in a bank, then I can advise on finance for a startup. Totally different, spectrum of needs. An entrepreneur needs to be mentored by an entrepreneur who has built a business
in the same ecosystem,
and probably exited it or listed it on for an IPO. So that's also lacking. So a lot of the work we've done is let's build the ecosystem, and it's a 3-year job. Then we can start building entrepreneurs.
So in this, the gaps that you've identified in the ecosystem, i.e. a lack of kind of seed capital for the new entrepreneurs, the lack of mentorship, and then the general policy maybe gaps. Are there any more things that you feel in the Ugandan ecosystem at the moment, currently? There are still gaps in that ecosystem that need to be addressed?
It's a very, very nice question, and I don't know if I should give you the honest answer, but...
Please do. Please.
I think one of the biggest gaps in our ecosystem is also who's building businesses, and it's been a personal wish of mine to bring in more experience from industry to become entrepreneurs, to start startups. So if you look at who's starting businesses most of the time in the more mature African ecosystems, it's a guy who's had some industry experience, who's bringing that experience to put it onto a startup environment, identifying gaps, and that's how they're able to raise the financing they need really fast. I'll give you a quick example. Trigger Foods just raised $25 million from Goldman Sachs and IFC. But if you say who's running Trigger Foods, it's the former CEO of Coca-Cola, East and West Africa.
So he had the
Peter.
connections, networks.
And he understands what it means to build a business. An idea is not a business. An idea is not a startup. But if you see the biggest percentage of people starting businesses, I've failed to get a job. So let me go be an entrepreneur. Yes.
Okay.
And you find it's a very painful journey for them because they don't know what they don't know. And finding that out is, it's almost you have to fall to learn, and you don't have 9 lives in this type of business.
You're not a cat.
Yeah.
Okay. So given those gaps that you've identified, what exactly is the Innovation Village? I know you've been here for 10 years. In fact, I read your article which said that I am an overnight success because we are launching this, but it's taken us 10 years.
Yeah. Now, the village in itself has actually been here for 4 years.
4? Okay.
4 years. But I've been watching the industry for the last 10 years, actually. I tried to explain to a few people who are in the industry how we can play differently, what we can do differently. I did that for 4 years.
Trying to convince people?
Yeah, trying to convince people that there is a different way for us to approach this industry. And then about 2011, 12, I was doing innovation competitions with a telco company, and the nature of all such competitions is you get ideas, 100 ideas, you select idea 1, idea 2, idea 3, give them 5K, 3K, 1K, not enough for these guys to do anything. They go on to buy an iPhone X laptop, wait for the next competition. So then I joined, corporate, energy industry, best job of my life, growing, and it was a really good life. And then about 2014, I saw a big newspaper pull out, again, innovation competitions, exactly what we used to do. Yeah, so I took a closer look and said, we can definitely do something different. And that's why I registered my first business called IDEA, standing for Innovation Drives Entrepreneurship and Achievement. And very naive, exciting, got into the industry and quickly discovered there's no way out. You can't really build a hub. That's how we ended up doing the ecosystem approach and trying to understand what's the most sustainable way to scale innovation in an early ecosystem. So I think that's been a 3-year journey. We've been judged too early about where the entrepreneurs, but we have to build that ecosystem first, and I'm happy we're making significant progress.
Okay. Because I know that when, is it Again, is it MasterCard that does this study, annual study, where it's looking at the number of entrepreneurs, the most entrepreneur countries in the world, and Uganda is always up there. It actually has also the highest number of female entrepreneurs, which is excellent. I like that. I like that fact. But when other studies are done, which look at, okay, so the survival of that business. So we have these wonderful ideas. We have entrepreneurs probably, coming out of reasons for survival more than reasons for wanting to do it. What happens after 3 years? In that aspect, most of them die off before then. So in that gap, how is the Innovation Village helping in that aspect?
So I think it's taken us 2 years to answer that question. Yes, so those 2 years have a couple of things you must be speaking to. And it's a very interesting conversation whenever I have, interesting and painful, whenever I'm speaking to entrepreneurs. I've seen entrepreneurs who build what they're building for 3-4 years without understanding the market. So there's the value expertise we bring in terms of just simple validation of what you're trying to do, and what's the total addressable market. Yesterday I was speaking to an entrepreneur, and I asked him, and he's been doing this since 2014, for me, which is very painful. I was asking him, who's your market? And he was saying, he gave me like 5 different segments. These guys are my market, these guys are my market, my market, my market. So it makes him look like I have a wide market, right? But what that means in essence is that you have to build for that wide market. And if which is too big, too expensive, if you're building a product, the product will lose its niche. And if you're putting enough, same focus on a 10 million shilling market and a 10 billion shilling market, you're wasting the time you could have been putting in here. So there's a lot of conversations we have around expertise. What are you supposed to be building for? Do you have the actual runway to build this into a product? An entrepreneur came to me and he said he needs $100,000. He's going to spend $30,000 on marketing. But then when we looked at the product, he doesn't have a product. So what are you marketing? So we ended up saying he only needed $15,000 to get a product that the market wants. Then everything else will roll on after that. So we do lots of work on the expertise of validating what you're building, which is a very important part.
So that you don't spend 5 years developing something.
Yes, 5 years going to Mbarara when you're supposed to be walking to Bugolobi. Then expertise, which most entrepreneurs overlook, but then access to market, which is a big piece. We bring industry and bring entrepreneurs, lock them in a room, force them to make a conversation. So, for example, the future of media that we've recently done, big corporate company wants to understand futuristic innovations, entrepreneurs deal in that. So that's something we replicate across any sector. Agriculture, health, education, media. Tell us a problem you have as a big company, and then entrepreneurs, what is your idea?
What is the potential solution?
Yes, so, and then a small entrepreneur for the first time gets an opportunity to pilot, to scale, and also gets investment from a big corporate. And that's how we go about being in an early ecosystem that doesn't have capital. Yeah, and then of course now with the fund, the 97 fund, and we call it the 97 because
why 97?
Competitions happen, opportunities for 100 submissions come, you take the top 3, leave the 97. So we built the 97.
So I know the 97 we need someone to take care of it.
We're home of the 97. We're home of the 97, so we're now able to invest for the very first time in ideas that are aligned to the mandate that for the fund. And then of course technology, support, infrastructure, whether it's just, fast internet, cloud, support, storage, data, and also expertise in product development. Yeah, so that's a lot of what we bring on board. Then acceleration, incubation for the entrepreneur. Yeah.
So So if I was an entrepreneur and I'm not in the 97,
Yeah.
would I still be able to have access to the Innovation
Yeah.
Village and its expertise?
Definitely. I think what we've done successfully is build a platform for as wide a scope of entrepreneurs based on what you want to do. And that's why we also recently moved into the creative space.
Oh, tell me more about that.
Yeah.
The creative space.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was, I shouldn't have to have done that because there were already enough people in the creative sector. But I kept hearing a question like, where can I get a 3D printer? And we knew one or two places, but then I kept asking myself, how come in this day and age of technology, where people are making flying cars and driverless cars, we can't get a single 3D printer in this country? You know, so that's what initially got me interested in the sector. But the more I looked, the more I saw more untapped opportunities for the creative sector. If you read about the creative sector in the UK, the small creative businesses account for over 80% of the GDP. And I visited, I think with the British Council, I visited the UK. You go to Peckham Levels, former parking spot, but it's, 8 floors full of only creatives. And I'm like, where do creatives go in this country? I know we're doing a lot of stuff with innovation and technology, but where do creatives go? And most of them are self-made, but where do they get the tools? Where do they get the market? Where do they? So Motive, again, in partnership with the MasterCard Foundation, is inspired to create a community. My guys there like calling it a tribe. Create a tribe for makers. They don't like creators.
Okay.
So young creators in food, in wood, in metal, fashion, fabric, film, media, entertainment. And the key difference with other creative spaces is that you'll get the tools you need. So tools is a big thing. Equipment for media guys is a big thing. You'll get the tools you need. So you don't need to have your own equipment to do anything in a sector. If you're a young maker, creator in the food business, you don't need kitchen equipment
to be able to cook
for a function. You can simply come, take it out for 3 hours, cook, and go and deliver.
This is something the Innovation Village does for those sectors that you're targeting.
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
Fashion. You don't have any machines. You can come. You've got a contract of over 100 uniforms, right? You don't need to have a machine to fulfill that contract.
Okay.
You can come, use the equipment by the hour, and then deliver. So equipment, tools. Then the other big piece is market. How do we unlock the market for the creative sector? So we built a marketplace, physical and online. We'll be opening up retail, shops for creatives again.
Okay.
And also getting
this
into.
This is in the future. You're going to.
I mean, we've already done that. Yeah.
Okay. Especially for fashion, I want to get my African print dresses. I just go somewhere online. Say, I want that in size 10 or 12.
It's already happening. It's already kick-started. Yeah. And I think for me, what's interesting is it got started during COVID.
So you're one of those people who made use of COVID.
No, I mean, they say never waste a crisis. So when COVID hit, we challenged young ladies in the fashion sector and say, can we come up with a design for just a face mask? And we're en route to make 100,000 face masks, including for the government, in this period of time.
Okay.
Work with about 150 of them already. So that I think it goes back to opportunity is unlimited. The potential is unlimited. Opportunity to tap into it is what we are trying to do.
Okay. Because I know when I think about our, what is it called, Wakaliwood,
Yes.
You know, they
Yes.
produce all these movies, so many movies actually, and
Yes.
they're like, okay, clearly they're thinking a lot.
Yes.
Clearly they're very creative.
Yes.
How can someone catalyze
Yes.
that market so that it becomes
Yes.
a Bollywood? You know,
Yes, and now people like Netflix are buying African
content,
Yes.
exactly. So how do we,
Yes.
how are we able to catalyze,
Yeah.
say, Hollywood to get our content on, say, Netflix?
Yeah, and if you look, go to Netflix right now, you'll find Nigerian content.
Yes.
You'll find
South African content.
South African content. You'll find Kenyan content.
Non-Ugandan.
Where are my Ugandan creators?
I was actually speaking to Golola, the recording before this one, and he was telling me, he was literally saying the same thing.
Yeah.
The sports industry, even the creative, the arts, how are we catalyzing that? And he was saying how it creates a lot of jobs, so people can be employed, but they need certain bits of ecosystem support to be able to actually get that done. So I'm happy that actually you have a sector now on the creatives and tapping into that, because we have a lot of that on the continent. Even in Uganda, we have a lot of content. So maybe my other question is that what hurdles do you feel, since you started, what hurdles do you feel like you've gone through that anyone who is thinking of doing a similar thing can avoid? The lessons learned.
I think that's a wrong question. the right question could be, what hurdles haven't I gone through?
Oh, cool. Yeah, that's even better.
Well, I think it's a very difficult journey. Very difficult journey. I remember I was speaking to a guy, and I was asking him to give me some advice on my entrepreneurship journey. We're trying to educate, create awareness of the opportunities entrepreneurs can bring, and you're happy, you're young, ambitious, and you're trying to bring all of these opportunities to life. And I told him, so what advice do you give me? He told me, you'll be lucky not to consider suicide.
You've been lucky?
Not to consider suicide. And then another guy told me, you need to have a metallic backbone. It's really a painful journey. And in fact, in startup speak, we have what we call the trough of sorrow. Trough of sorrow, and if you Google it, you'll be able to see the entire trough. You come up, you're a normal human being walking the streets of Kampala, excited, life is good, and then you're hit with an idea for a startup. You're like, oh my God, I could build this startup, right? And you're like, this is crazy. I'm a genius.
Yes, fantastic.
Fantastic, right? And then you go all the way up. You're the peak. When people are speaking, you see, how come these guys are not even paying attention to me? Then they don't look, and they see the genius that is surrounding them. They're fortunate to be around me, So that's the peak, right? And then you're taking a shower, you begin asking yourself questions. It doesn't take anyone to ask you questions. You begin saying, but is it really possible? And then the doubt begins to set in.
Self-doubt.
Yeah, self-doubt, and very relevant self-doubt. And then you come back to
earth a bit.
Yeah, you come back on the ground. And then just before you think it can't get any worse, it gets, I like saying, it gets worse. Things get really bad, really, really bad. And that's really bad for some entrepreneurs. I've seen entrepreneurs sleep in these corridors because they don't have a home to go back to.
They've invested in
everything. And the rest of us look at them and think these guys are really working hard, but the guy really has no place to go back to. And it gets really bad. And then for those who stick to it, it begins to work.
After they've stuck at being the bottom.
Yes, it begins to work, and eventually it works. And that's the overnight success. But the process is no less than 4 years.
That entire journey from idea, fantastic and brilliant.
It's no less than 4 years. So even when they say that Ugandan entrepreneurs die in their first year of operation, even in the year 2, year 3, they still qualify they still qualify to be dying. Just because you've made it in year 2, they give you the guarantee that you have the right to be in year 4.
Okay.
You say we just died too early. Yeah, so I think some of the challenges we've had to go through are things like education. Education, I mean, how do you make the ecosystem aware of their role in accelerating entrepreneurship? Who are you to educate the biggest business in this country on how they can work with entrepreneurs in a more productive way? It takes time, it's expensive, and they're not interested in listening, and there's no motivation at all. And then, of course, there's no capital. No capital for entrepreneurs. And the work we do in building the ecosystem is not a private sector job. It's not my job. That's a public good.
Sure, yeah.
It's a public good. It's the city of Kampala that's responsible for making Kampala the best city to be an entrepreneur in Africa. It's not my job, you know. And
But
how they do
entrepreneurs
that,
are being forced to.
yes, but how they do that is what type of policy, what type of opportunities, what type of incentives, what type of support are they giving. That's the city's job. But as an entrepreneur, if we don't think about that, it's not going to take care of itself.
It won't happen, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we've had to build that ecosystem, even when it's not our core job, such that we can now support and build, competitive entrepreneurs.
Okay.
Yeah.
We were speaking earlier, and of course, this ecosystem point is very, very important. I know that in Italy, there's a whole ecosystem around even the creatives, actually, because that's why they do very nice,
Yes.
Italian, shoes or Italian bags. You hear a lot of Italian design. That is a creative industry that the ecosystem is actually catalyzed by a lot of these things that you're talking about. And when we were talking earlier, you painted for me a picture of a real ecosystem and how it's supposed to work. And I thought that was very interesting because I hadn't necessarily thought about it. So in our context, paint for me an ideal ecosystem.
Wow, it's an interesting question. So in our context, if we are to support entrepreneurs become really competitive, so I'll give myself as an example. I'm an entrepreneur. I've built a startup called AgTech, right? And it's also, of course, financing for agriculture using technology and stuff like that. If I'm Ali, I would come to an incubator like Innovation Village or any other and join their incubation process. And by joining it, they would accelerate or incubate me based on where I am, and they would be able to invest.
You'll be able to get funding to build that.
Yes, to build that. But as you build that to a certain level, right, they should be able to give you that investment you need to get to a certain level. Now, when they get you to a certain level, they should be able to say, hi investors, look at this guy.
He's done fantastic.
He's done fantastic. Okay. We have given him his initial runway. Now it's your turn to invest in him. So they would put me in front of a room of investors where I'd be able to also pitch to them, and they'd be like, oh my God,
I need to invest in that.
I need to invest in that before this guy does. But right now I can't even have a room of people to pretend to be investors. So they'd be able to invest in that. If they don't, then corporate ventures, things like big bank, telco, a company that works in agriculture, says, interesting.
You know what?
I like that idea.
Let's partner with you.
Let's partner with them to pilot it in our ecosystem, and they'd also probably be able to invest. Now, that's just the start, right? But then I need the talent. I need guys who have product development experience, who have built products before, who have built startups before, and they've exited. Those are not there, and also I'd need mentors. I'd need an entrepreneur everybody looks at who has gone through this process, and then succeeded, and then exited, and is also probably able to become an angel investor in my company, join my board, be a mentor, and which is also not there. And then we'd do that for 3, 4, 5 years, and then we'd say we want to list.
Okay.
We want to list. And while we're doing that, the city, my country, my government is also saying, this is
Look
the
at
best
this.
place to be an entrepreneur, and here's how we support entrepreneurs. Tax holidays, whatever it is.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's really the ideal. If it's not there, we're yeah.
So if, hypothetically, you were working in Kampala Capital City Authority right now, what would you do to incentivize this? Uganda is the most entrepreneurial country in the world. Probably a lot of it is, focused or concentrated in Kampala. What would you do to, having listened to CK saying, you know what, we don't have the right ecosystem.
Yeah.
Someone needs to do something about it wherever you are. So this is KCCA.
Yeah.
What could it do?
I think I tried that before. I came up with an image of the Kampala Innovation District.
I saw that.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember. I saw that.
Yes, I think so. We just need to designate, and it's not expensive. It won't cost much, but it will begin the conversation. Let's build an innovation district, and what happens there is businesses in there, opportunities in there are all focused on catalyzing opportunities for innovation. So if you're a school, and you're in the district, you're open to working with EdTech, if you're a hospital, you're open to trying out innovation. Public transport, you're piloting innovation. If you're an investor and you invest in solutions in there, then you get a certain level of incentives, whatever it is. So it begins from creating a small district that we promote, champion, make people more aware, and even if it's come and innovate from here, this is what you get, then KCCA can do that, and we leave the rest for the private sector. If you operate in this district, this is the benefit you get.
Okay.
So you begin to catalyze it by just designating a certain area of the city. What that does is it brings great confidence. Confidence in the innovations, confidence in the need to pilot, confidence in the need for us to be building solutions, and whatever works in that district, then we can scale that out across the country. If a technology solution has worked for a hospital in the district, then it can really work in the next 100 hospitals across the country. Same as education, same as whatever. So by just leveraging their power to design the city without investing any of their money, we gain another 10 years on how we need to be innovating as a city.
Okay. Now, having said that, you engage KCCA, you're moving into physical locations in Jinja, Gulu, Barra.
Yes.
You have one. Have you been able to engage with those cities as well?
We've talked to a few government representatives on the ground, and we've made our interests known. We're very happy they have welcomed us, and it's for example, when Barra, they thought it was a bold move for us. Why are you doing all of these things during COVID?
I wanted to get back to that. You need to tell me all the things you've done during COVID. You were not home washing your hands and sitting in front of a TV.
No. We've done more work in COVID than before COVID.
Tell me about that.
No, I guess it's standing back and saying, and I mean, we're the most entrepreneurial country in the world. Young people are coming up with ideas, but I think it was I was looking at Israel during COVID, and they managed to get 9,000 innovations to cross the line during COVID.
Really?
Yeah, 9,000.
That's in the last 6 months.
Yeah. And I'm like, what happened to us? Why aren't we, unlocking these opportunities for our young people? So we did a number of pilots. We launched a COVID Innovation Challenge. It attracted 60 innovations from different young people. We've invested in some.
Were they coming up with what exactly is it?
So the solutions were more around last mile communication, because if you see all the communication during COVID has been in,
it's on Twitter, on
yeah,
TV,
yeah,
and people don't have
and in
access.
English.
In English, yes.
Yes. So how do you communicate to the people down there, wherever they are, who don't know English, what they need to be aware of? So last mile communication, and then innovations around agriculture productivity, because we still have to eat.
Yes.
Even
when we are locked away.
Yes, even when we're locked away, and then also logistics. How do you get things to move from one place to another? So not vaccines for COVID, but really those were the areas we looked at, and that's where the 60 innovations, that
the innovation ideas
came from.
How do you advertise for this? Because I feel like I'm a little bit online and things.
Yeah.
But I didn't know about these whole things that you've done during COVID.
Yes, we definitely have to do a better job telling the story. I know we're guilty most of the time to looking at the next challenge and not telling the story. We're getting help with that. But a lot of the communication is online, really. A lot of the people we talk to are online. So those are channels we mostly use.
But then don't you feel that you're cutting out a huge percentage of the community which may not be online, but they have excellent ideas? I mean, the guy in Nakapiripiti, who doesn't have a TV, may actually have a wonderful solution for his kind of people than a Kampala guy. The Kampala guy may not actually have those solutions.
Yeah, we're work in progress. Yeah, where I think a lot of them now with the reach out, the regional. We have an open door kind of approach to attracting them, bringing them in, and exploring how we can work with them. Yeah.
Okay. CK, thanks so much for speaking to me. Do you have any last words?
No, I mean, thank you for having me. I'm happy to be at the Ideation Corner. I think it's a really brilliant idea. We need to get, I was listening to the president and they were saying we need to wake up our people. But I think, and for any young person out there watching, they say that, every generation, I like the quote that says every generation must rise out of relative obscurity, and discover its mission. And when they discover it, they will either fulfill it or betray it.
Oh.
Yeah. So I think this generation and the next generation is about innovation, is about entrepreneurship, it's about solving problems, it's about creating value. And I like saying I'm not a motivational speaker because I just had a dream. So if you're out there, you have a dream, if you're willing to become an overnight success after 10 years, then please go for it. Go for it. We'll be waiting for you in 2030. 2030, thank you.
So there you have it. We've heard from CK Japheth talking about his overnight success that took 10 years to get to. And he's given his insights. And please, if you're an innovator, an entrepreneur, please feel free to Google and search about the Innovation Village and get in touch with them. Apparently, they have an open door policy. And for this episode, please subscribe to my channel on YouTube and Facebook. And it is my name, Damali Ssali. Thank you.